Hey Gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I'm Cory.
And I'm Matt. And each week this podcast will serve as a catalyst for discussion on all sorts of topics that grind our gears, rev our engines, or just need a bit more conversation.
And I am so very excited about this week's episode. It was a blast to record, and I cannot wait to share it with you, our friends, our audience, the Gearheads of the world.
Definitely.
This was a good one.
It really was a fun episode.
So we had a special guest with us this week in Bill Taylor, which that name may or may not mean anything to anyone up to this point, but we are going to make Bill Taylor famous because
definitely.
He was a blast to talk to, and just a little bit, I'll let him dive into all the details of it, but he has worked 34 years for General Motors. So, big fan on my part there, like GM fanboy over here, Cory. But 34 years at General Motors. Many stories from his time there at GM.
He shared a few of them.
Yes, and there are more to come, I'm sure.
Definitely.
We're already talking about interview 2.
Oh, yeah.
There's just so much to unpack there. 34 years at General Motors, and now in retirement, he has started something new, a new venture, and we will save that for him to reveal in the episode. Like I said, his name is Bill Taylor. We're very excited to have him on this week's show. It was a blast to come across him and get to talking to him online. Just goes to show you the power of podcasting and the power of the internet.
Yeah.
That he and I came across one another.
Facebook amazingly is good for something.
Yes, it is.
Every once in a while.
So this one is, they own Instagram, but this one is Instagram's fault.
Oh, okay. All right.
We have Instagram to thank for.
There you go.
For this week's episode brought to you. No, I can't say that because whew, that would be nice though, right?
Yeah. We're not turning down the money.
Has to be offered to turn it down, right?
Right.
So, without further ado, we could go on many tangents on that one, but let's bring on Bill Taylor. Well, Bill, it is absolutely wonderful to have you join us this evening, and we're looking forward to talking to you about not only your personal vehicle history, but your personal history in vehicles, so to say. So why don't you start us off with maybe your resume, just maybe some high points in your resume.
Just the high points of a 34-year career, huh?
Yeah.
First of all, thank you very much for reaching out, Cory. I really, as I've gotten to learn a little bit more about you guys, I really quickly saw that we had a lot in common. Obviously, a similar love of cars on both the technical side and from kind of the marketing and I'll call it the dealer side, which is where I've really enjoyed a lot of my career. But I'm going to go a little bit farther back than my resume because it'll help set the stage for why I am what I am. So my dad was an engineer for General Motors, and he spent his whole career at the Proving Ground here in Michigan. And he was a truck engineer. And his claim to fame was he launched the original 69 K5 Blazer.
Oh, wow.
I am a fan of your father.
Yeah. So I grew up, and Dad was, Blazer was his favorite, but he did all the four-wheel drive trucks.
Awesome.
And he did the final development work. So as the design engineers and production kind of got them ready for production, he perfected them or refined them as much as General Motors would allow them to do back then because trucks weren't popular. So they didn't want to spend the extra 10 cents to do a better door seal, as an example. So Dad would complain about that all the time, but he would be bringing home these different vehicles that had some really cool stuff done to them, and he would consequently teach me a lot about these. He was a great teacher, and so I learned a lot about ride and handling. He did these take apart shocks so he could change the valving and test it out coming home, and vibration, everything else. So it was really cool. And so I grew up with all of that, but I was a teenager in the 70s. Yeah. So unfortunately, not the better part of the 70s when the cars were really fast. So think of mid 70s was when I started doing my driver's training. But in 77, when I got my driver's license, Chevrolet brought back the Z28 Camaro. It took like a
Yes.
3-year hiatus, and I was hooked. I had all the pictures on the wall. I heard you talk about having posters on your wall. Back in my day, you pulled the magazines apart, you stuck them on the wall,
Oh, yeah.
or you found a brochure or something, you stuck it on the wall. So I was a Z28 freak. It was bad. I mean, I lived and breathed it. And I finally talked my mom into buying one in '79.
Nice.
And the only reason she did it, she was going to buy a Chevette, but I was working at a Burger King. And I put down almost $2,000, which in '79 was a lot of money.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I owned about a third of that car.
Nice.
So it was black, gold stripes,
Nice.
4-speed manual.
Oh.
Yes.
Didn't have a lot of the equipment because,
Right.
she wasn't even sure she wanted air conditioning. But I said, let's do that and a locking differential just to make sure I don't, get in trouble.
Right.
So I had that for a couple of years, and then I went away to college and just harassed her every day. Did you wash it? Did you wash it? Did you wash it? And she goes, yes, but we're going to sell it.
Oh.
Oh.
Because she just couldn't put up with me with that thing. So I sold it to a guy who still owns it today.
Oh, that's
That is
awesome.
impressive.
And I'm trying to chase him down. And I did 15 years ago, and his wife wouldn't let me talk to him
Oh.
because she knew what I was after.
Yeah.
I wanted to buy that car back. But they had only put 3,000 miles on the car
Oh, my goodness.
from 1981 to 2005. So that car is still there somewhere. So I'm going to find it, and I'm going to get it back. But anyway, so that
It
kind of
cost
set
you
the
a pretty
stage.
penny.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. I've got the secret weapon. But
Yeah.
anyway, I that set the stage of what I want to do in my life. So I went to college, got out, and joined Chevrolet
Yeah.
in the sales and service side of the business, not engineering, because I found out that while I enjoyed math, as soon as objects started going into motion, physics, everything else, I was done.
Here,
So
here. Yeah.
An added level of complexity.
Oh,
that,
my goodness.
yeah.
yeah. So I spent better part of 15 years with the Chevrolet brand. A lot of it working with customers and dealers, and all over the country basically, and being able to work with Chevrolet dealers and just with distribution of vehicles, improving their market share, things like that was terrific. And then the next 10 plus years, I was at Saturn. We were talking about that a little bit beforehand, in Spring Hill, Tennessee for a while. Then we came back to Detroit, and I have the notoriety for being the last known Saturn employee.
Really?
So, yeah, unfortunately, I was the guy that turned out the lights. So helped the retailers transition out of that business, and many times they were picking up a GM brand to put into their stores.
Right.
If not, helping them get their parts sold to other GM dealers and things like that. And
So
then
that's no small feat in and of itself, saying goodbye to what, enthusiasts may poo-poo at it a little bit, but it was a beloved brand by
it was.
a very faithful group of people.
Well, and a lot of the practices that are in place today, the no haggle, no hassle pricing,
Right.
the market area approach where you didn't over dealer an area. So, here's a geography. If you can handle it with one store, great. If you need 4 stores, great, but they're all yours. There's no competition within that market area.
Wow.
So these are the things that, kind of GM picked up on as we phased out. It was I'll call it the great experiment, because there was a lot that was great. We were starved for product for the longest time. We started getting some good stuff toward the end.
Yep.
And there was a lot of stuff left on the cutting room floor too. So that was both a fun time and a sad time, but really rewarding, and some great retailers that I got to work with. Just phenomenal.
Yeah, I would say so. The one Saturn that I believe is almost universally loved was one of the last ones in the Sky Roadster,
Yes.
and especially the Red Line. That was a sub brand, so to speak, the performance sub brand of Saturn that was really starting to pick up. Unfortunately for Saturn, at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And I find it very interesting. I almost bought it was the sister to the Sky Roadster, but I almost bought a Pontiac Solstice, which I'm kind of kicking myself for, but at the same time, it all worked out for the best. But
they were phenomenal. They were phenomenal cars, really strong platform. I mean, you talk about structure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for the day, they were really tight. I had one of the first ones. It was a yellow one with a stick,
Yes.
and it was in winter, of course. So I had it for 3 months. And the forums, there were Saturn forums. They're like, has anyone seen a yellow one yet? So I started taking pictures of it and posting it because I thought that'd be a great thing to do. Except my neighbor next door was selling his house for sale by owner, and some watchful eye caught his for sale sign and they were calling him, wanting to know where that yellow sky was sitting.
Oh, my goodness.
So he came over, he goes, by chance, have you posted pictures online of this car?
Oh, no.
And will you please take them down? He got like 34 phone calls,
Oh, that's
wow.
incredible.
which is great.
The
Says
power-
something about the car.
Yep. Something about the car and the power of the internet. So
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
awesome.
So it was a fun time. So I wrapped up my career doing digital marketing, helping GM dealers adopt, basically not selling online, but using your website to better market your cars. That's kind of your virtual showroom, helping them with answering leads. And we developed the processes for dealers to do that, which even today they're still trying to implement and do more, Carvana type of sales, especially with the pandemic. There were a lot of new products brought out to do that. So I'm proud that I got to be part of that as well.
Yeah. That is, like you said earlier, in a nutshell, a 34-year career that I am quite envious of because I love General Motors. I love the brands that you've worked for, and I am very thankful for you and your family's work because,
Thank you.
like you said, the K5 Blazer, I want an 86 one for personal reasons, but is one of my favorite off-roading vehicles. Broncos, be darned, and Jeeps, but K5 Blazer. I've been dreaming about one for quite some time.
That's my number 2 on the list, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, if that one's number 2, what's number 1?
Oh, I gotta get that Z28 back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's just, and I know I'll be totally disappointed because I think that V8 put out about 180 horsepower at the time. But I will tell you, at the time, I thought it was a fast car.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everything else was that anemic too at that point. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And there's something just about the nostalgia of it. I've seen my old Silverado around town several times, and I've started dreaming of the fact that I've actually gotten it back, which those are pretty fun dreams. I'm not going to lie.
Yes.
And I can definitely see where it would be really awesome to, in reality, have that one car that got away back because I really do. I miss my Camaro, and I also miss my Silverado. And if I could have either one of those back, it'd be fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just leave it at that. It'd be fun.
Exactly.
I do have the spare set of keys for that truck. So if I ever see it again, if I were so tempted.
Right.
But, OnStar and whatnot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The legalities of it, too, and moralities, yada, yada, yada.
And shout out to the current owner if you're a listener of Garage Talk. If you'd like to have that other key, contact us.
I've been trying to get it back to you since, 2011. So I have it, gtgaragetalk@gmail.com. We'll get it back to you.
There you go. What a great way to get it.
I know. That would be something. So, if our listeners can help track this person down, if he is already not listening to us, he or she, I really don't know. I have not been able to see who's driving it, but that would be quite a story and worthy of posting as well. So, anyway,
yes,
that was your career. You said you have since retired. So, what is it that drives you forward now? What are you working on now?
A little bit of everything. I'm a tinkerer, and I love that. Number one tinkering project has anything to do with cars. And while I'm not going to, pull a motor or drop a transmission, have done it, but rather not to. I'm into everything else about it. If it's modifying, if it's painting it, I'm teaching myself to paint, and that's been an interesting road. Now, if we get talking about the Beetle, that's where Matt and I will go crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, as I, going through life and, had a lot of fun vehicles too on the side that, you take to the Cars and Coffee or the local cruise in on a Sunday. One of the things that as I would go to those, I would notice that a lot of the participants, probably 2/3 of them or more, were the older guys. I say older than me, 10 years older than me. So, they're late 60s. And they got their Chevelles, their GTOs. Think about when they were younger, what were they driving, right? And these are the old curmudgeons that, they didn't want anybody joining, don't get into my bubble. And they didn't want to talk about their cars. And then I'd watch these young folks come in, mid-20s, maybe 30s, with the iRoxy or something newer, maybe an Acura or something that they've tuned. And these older guys just scoffed at them. And I thought that was just so uncool, because here's somebody who's expressing themselves through their car. To them, that's a classic, right? Because that's the car they grew up with. And so I made a point to go talk to these guys and gals, and we all had something in common. We all love cars.
Yeah.
And my concern, is that, as time went on, this is before I retired, but now that I'm after, it was like, how do you keep the car hobby alive? Is it going to die off?
Yeah.
And so, I had to keep myself busy. And so I thought, I'm going to start an automotive blog where I can talk about these things. I can talk about buying and selling cars, or, how to do certain customization, painting wheels or painting a car or something like that. And really kind of designed to nurture the automotive interests of the younger generation, right? So Vehicle Nanny, the nanny's going to take care of you and nurture you, right?
Right.
That's cool.
So as I launched it almost exactly a year ago, like 3 weeks later, a friend of mine who had a 16-year-old son said, hey, I know you like cars. AJ is kind of lost. He's got nobody to give him any guidance on, he wants to build a car.
Right.
Will you sit down and talk to him? I'm like, heck yeah.
Absolutely.
So then I explained to her what I was doing with Vehicle Nanny, and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe that. And I said, well, now you got to believe it. You got to start, reading about it. So I've met with AJ. He bought an 86 Fiero that needed a lot of work. Right, a Fiero GT, excuse me. So it's the slant back.
Nice.
And he's never worked on a car before, but highly enthusiastic, very smart kid, looked up everything. And I said, look, I'll be there to mentor you. I'm not going to do the work for you, but I'll help you out. So since February, whether we've been texting back and forth or I dropped by his house, and the first time I did that, it was a disaster because he had literally taken this car apart when it really didn't need to come apart, and just dropped the parts on the floor, bolts, nuts, parts, tools. You couldn't even walk through the garage. I said, okay, AJ, the first thing I'm going to teach you is a project plan. I said, you've got to get your shop in order. And he did, and he spent 3 weeks, got everything, everything on shelves. So little by little, he's been nipping away at this thing. And I did a video on it early on in the process, and it's on Vehicle Nanny. But, I owe him another follow-up video. But about 2-3 weeks ago, we were going to try to paint the car.
Yeah.
And some things happened with his dad. He had to move the car to another location. It wasn't suitable for painting. It's like, so we're going to figure out a way to get it done. And maybe part by part, I'll bring it to my house over the winter. 'Cause, hey, Fiero, it's a space frame car with, the dent resistant panels that unbolt.
Right.
So I could bring a door over and just paint it and put it back. And so he's been my inspiration. So I want to take this even further. So do you know Hagerty Insurance? It's a collector car insurance.
Yep.
So they've done a lot of great research, and they've done some research on millennials and how millennials are actually buying cars. Matter of fact, they're buying cars, they're classics, but not new cars, because new cars are too expensive.
Right.
They don't like the newer cars. They like the 90s cars or Fox body Mustangs or, but to them, that's appropriate age vehicle for them. So I hooked up with somebody from Hagerty because they have an automotive youth program where they're trying to nurture the interest in automotive, keep the hobby alive, or teach them about automotive careers. So I'm calling it a partnership. They probably wouldn't, but I'm selling merchandise, Vehicle Nanny branded merchandise with some other fun kind of T-shirts, and all the profits are going to go to Hagerty's automotive youth programs to help keep them alive. I mean, they're teaching kids how to drive a stick using classic cars.
Yes.
That's
amazing.
They're trying to teach them how to do judging, like if you were at at a car show. I mean, all these neat little things that, someday maybe I could be part of that. But they do 3,000 events a year, or they did before COVID.
Right.
Wow.
So it's a perfect alignment with what I'm doing. And so it seems like every couple of months I come across something like this and I get re-engaged, and it's just, it consumes my day, which is fine by me because this is a passion I have, and I kind of feel like I'm making a difference.
Yeah.
And I hope to make a bigger difference. So when I get to meet other people, like with you reaching out because you came across an article that was posted by a mutual friend,
Right.
it's cool to connect with like-minded souls, and it's fun because the hobby is alive all across the nation.
Definitely.
Yeah, and we were chatting about this before we hit record, but that's essentially what drew me to you. You had mentioned I saw your post via a mutual internet connection. Shout out to Grady of Late Night Car Talk. I'll go ahead and give you a shout out there. But thanks for sharing. But that's really what it is. Garage Talk was built out of Matt and I's passion to just talk about cars and share it with anyone who would listen. And so, that story you told about, the old curmudgeons, so to speak, kind of keeping to themselves and not embracing all vehicles. That's the stigma that we are all trying to break. All cars serve a purpose. Matt and I just had a car show for the unlikely heroes of the car world, where dented, scratched, barely running, whatever.
Yeah.
We wanted to celebrate all forms of vehicles, especially the ones that would never make it in a car show. So that is absolutely our mission, and it was so awesome that I came across you, and as I started doing research into what you were into, I was like, I've got to reach out to this guy and get him on the podcast. And then to find out just even more about you and your history with General Motors and everything that you've been into that has impacted my life personally in one way or another, it's just been really awesome. So just getting to sit down and talk to you has been really amazing, and just get, like I said, share our passions and share what we've been in love with for what sounds like the majority of both of our lives. And
exactly right. And it's interesting, as I started Vehicle Nanny, my intent was to show people how to, fix certain things in their cars or modify their cars. And that's not what people wanted to see. And as you watch, the engagement is very low because not everybody, can pick up a paint gun and go at it.
Right.
But where I found the big engagement was when they had the human element. I started talking about if it's Grady or I was starting to pick up on some of my buddies that had cars and do quick little videos, just kind of asking them 5 questions.
Right.
Why do you like that car? Do you have another? What's your dream car? And all of a sudden, boom, traffic goes to the roof because people can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's truly that human element.
I love that.
Yeah.
That was cool too. Not to brag on our car show, but to brag on our car show a little bit. Having the opportunity to talk with several of the people there, who one of the kids I talked to, probably early 20s, may have even been high school age. It was his first ever car show, and he brought this beautiful mid-60s F100, and wow. He had gotten it running himself and worked on it and things like that, and that was his first car show. And it was beat up, and half the paint was gone, and the engine was had oil all over it. But he was at a car show, and he was hanging out with other car people. And your blog does the same thing in essence, and that relationship that happens when car people get together is just incredible.
Now, Matt, if you're going to brag on our car show,
you
got to do it to its fullest extent. Not only was this his first car show, not only did he bring a beautiful example of exactly what we wanted to the car show, he won an award for it.
He did win an award for it.
Yeah. Okay, so what did you bring? What was the award?
So the award he won was sponsored by our good friends over at Piney Woods Pets, who do pet treats and pet accessories,
Things like that,
bandanas,
yeah.
and stuff like that. And so they sponsored the Leaky Bladder Award. And so the leaky bladder was for the vehicle leaving, or most likely to leave, the biggest puddle underneath
Yeah.
after the car show was over. And so I actually saw, I believe his mom tagged him in a post on Facebook and was just gushing with pride for
Oh,
her
yeah.
son who made it to his first car show and then walked away with an award. So
Oh,
It was
that's
a lot of
awesome.
fun.
yeah, it was a really good, fun experience, and I want to chase that high. Matt has finally gotten me to agree
To do it again.
to do it again.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So how many cars did you get to come out? I mean, what was the?
We ended up with 35, 36,
36 in total.
cars
Wow.
total.
So
That's awesome.
it was a very, we had to balance that line between, it was midst pandemic. We had it late October. And so we're towing the line of, we have to space everybody out in the parking lot and be considerate. And I had to get approval from local authorities, not like police, but the county had to give the blessing. And so we had a max capacity of 50. We were relatively unknown
Yeah.
in the area at the time. We're picking up steam on our podcast. That show boosted our listeners tremendously
Yeah.
for that. And it really was just a great time. So we're looking forward to, 2.0 and seeing how that one goes in 2021.
So what criteria did you give the folks who are bringing cars? Because you probably didn't want any trailer queens there.
Well,
From the sounds of it, you're going for the opposite, unless they were brought in a trailer because they were a wreck. But
Well,
we did have one on a trailer that did not run.
Yeah, it didn't. He had loaded it on the trailer that morning. Now we wanted it to be daily driven vehicles. So and because we live in Texas, there are inspections that you have to go through every year to have your car registered and blah blah blah. So there were some criteria that people had to follow, but really it was about the daily driver, the unsung hero type of vehicle.
I like that.
That never really would see the light of day at a car show.
Exactly. Give people an opportunity who wouldn't otherwise come to a show to get to come to a show and celebrate
I like that.
the story.
I like that.
So,
With one major exception.
well, yeah, $250,000 exception.
So we had we made a connection online with a local Lamborghini enthusiast.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And we had an Aventador show up at our car show. He asked if he could bring it.
He did clarify that it was a daily driver.
He
so,
does daily drive it.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
Yeah.
he asked if he could bring it. I said, you absolutely can. You may steal the show, but you may absolutely bring it, and we would love to have it. I was slightly fearful, as were some of the participants. So we had a $100 People's Choice Award at stake, and we were all a little worried that he was going to walk away with it by a landslide. And in fact, it was a 1950.
It was a 57 Chevy.
57? Yeah, 57 Chevy. So
Bel Air. The guy had owned it since he was 18.
Yeah.
And he was mid-50s, maybe early 60s. Bought it when he was serving. He was in the service. And, I mean, it was just an awesome, awesome story, the whole, which was the point of the show, the stories that come with the cars.
Right. And he actually told me, as I was giving him the crisp $100 bill, that when he saw the Lamborghini pull up, he thought he didn't even stand a chance and was about to leave. He just wasn't sure he stood a chance, and it was a cold Saturday. The weather wasn't perfect. It was cool. We wanted it to be cooler, but by Texas standards, it was cold.
Yeah,
and he, against perhaps all of his motivations, he stayed and was rewarded handsomely for it. So
that's awesome, and I think that right there you kind of captured the danger of what that Lamborghini could have done to that show, right? Because, I love the unsung heroes. I think that is an awesome approach because let's face it, anybody can buy, well, not anybody can buy, but it's, relatively easy if you have the money to buy the car that's done. It's beautiful. Right. But when you can bring out the one that you put your heart and soul into, and it's, like Matt was saying, it may have hit, a little bit dents and dings or whatever, but I think that kid was proud of that vehicle,
Oh,
probably
yeah,
because he got it running and he got it doing whatever it needed to do. That's the story.
Yeah.
And those are the stories I'm looking for because, as I'm doing this, my next series of stories is called Connecting with Cars. And I've already got I've reached out to friends who have quirky cars or kind of fun stuff. And, why did you buy it? And, what are you doing with it? And, things like that. And so I've got a couple in the pipeline that'll be coming out soon, but this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, you think about, and I'll keep using AJ, the young man with the
With a
who doesn't
great
even
taste. He
Yeah.
has great
Who does-
taste in vehicles.
and doesn't even have a driver's license yet because he wanted to get that thing running so he could, by graduation time, he can go peel through the high school parking lot and do his thing. I'm like, I'm with you. We're going to get you there.
That's awesome.
But it's those stories that keep drawing me back, and it's fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's addictive.
Oh, yeah.
It really is.
It is.
And
It is.
like I said, Matt has gotten me to chase that feeling and agree to do a second annual. Yep, I said it.
Yep.
Good.
It's recorded and going in this episode. Second annual Garage Talks Unlikely
Well, maybe
Car Show.
give me enough notice, and I'll drive on down from Michigan.
That'd be
That
fantastic.
would be amazing.
Absolutely. I was going to suggest just that. We'll let you know when we have the next one. So
I will absolutely do that.
awesome.
And we will let all of you, our listeners, know that as well. So there are a lot of details that still need to be ironed out between now and then, but we will absolutely start promoting that as soon as we can. So you can start planning to attend our second annual.
Well, maybe I can align that with possibly buying something down there.
There you
Yeah.
go.
It fits to bring it home to Michigan.
Yep. That would be awesome.
I like the way you think, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
before we jump into our final segment, and we could probably talk for hours and hours, so just proof that we're going to have you back on a future episode.
Definitely.
But
Awesome.
before we get into our final segment, you have alluded to a bond that you and Matt share, and we've got to
Yeah.
at least, I've got to peel back a little bit of that onion. We'll save some for a future episode, but this VW connection that you've got, I've got to
Yeah.
poke at Matt anytime we can. We've had
Right.
Bogey Latiner from All Girls Garage was a common connection
Yeah.
with the VW Beetle and Matt. So what did you have? What interesting, quirky stories do you have surrounding that? And probably, I think Matt will probably shake his head and say he's been there and done that.
If you've owned a Volkswagen, you have a quirky story about the Volkswagen.
That's a given, right?
That's a given. And everybody has a Volkswagen story. So I had an 84 Corvette that I sold in 2007 to buy a Volkswagen. Yeah.
Nice.
So because I was starting to find things online, these different forums, things called Volksrods, where guys were putting extenders on the front beams to push them out farther and cutting away the front end. I went so far as to actually buy one of these beam extenders. It was like $200, $300. It was really a piece of art how it was welded up, but I just couldn't do it. I was just like, I want to, but I had to start screwing with the steering. At the time, I didn't want to do that. So I said, I sold it to someone else. But what an easy car to customize.
Oh, man.
And the guy I bought it from also worked at General Motors, and he had already done the pans, because they were rusted out. He painted it, but it was a tan. I think he rolled the paint on, it was really bad. Engine ran great, though. So mechanically, it was great. Cosmetically, it needed some help. So I wanted to start teaching myself to paint. So in 5 years, that car was 4 different colors. I two-toned it orange and gray, took the fenders off, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then I did a matte black with the orange, and then I put the fenders back on, did a blue, and then I did two-tone blue and gray, and then I sold it.
Nice.
Sounds
Nice.
like a lot of colors that you went through on yours.
Yeah.
there, Matt.
I've had several. The one that I got closest to being done was the 71 Super, and it started life in blue and ended up in orange before I totaled it. So,
Yeah, and there are several episodes, including Deer in Headlights, where we've fully dove into exactly how that vehicle met its end.
Yeah.
But, poor old Tallulah.
So,
Rest in peace.
is that the only one you've had?
That's the only VW, yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Well, Bill, I've alluded to it before we started recording, and Matt actually has a segment to close us out that I absolutely love, and I'll let him do the intro. So, Matt, take it away.
All right, so this segment is called Random Misfire. The dreaded PO300 code that comes up on everybody's car, right? The random misfire, and in this case, random misfire questions. Some of them are yes, no. Some of them are either or. Some of them are preference. But it's just an opportunity to kind of get to know you a little more and have some fun with some automotive themed questions. So, Cory, do you want to start us off with the first one?
Sure. So,
I'm nervous. I'm really nervous here, guys.
I warned you about this before we started recording, so
Yes.
I will just get it out of the way first. It is the only question that has a right and wrong answer. All the rest, purely subjective, nothing to worry about. But this one has a right or wrong answer. Do you name your vehicles?
I don't. No,
Womp,
what's sad,
womp, womp.
and we own too many Coopers, and that is like the one brand where people name their cars.
Yep.
I just haven't done it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have anything against it. I just haven't done it.
So my wife had a Mini Cooper when I first met her, and it was the Skittle. That was its name. It was a tealish, turquoisey, blue-green. It was a fun little car.
Did I hear you talk in a previous podcast about a pickup truck and naming it something like Cheyenne or?
So
Yeah. Well,
my next General Motors, very specific here, my next General Motors truck will be named Cheyenne. I've already got that name picked out, so yes.
his first truck, though.
Do you think that could go on it?
Oh, that would look
Oh.
amazing on it.
Yes,
That-
it would.
This is OE. This has been in a box since the 70s. You give me your address, I'm gonna send this to you.
Oh,
Cory has a new best friend. I'm out on the show. I'm done.
yes. So that is
I
amazing.
cheated a little bit. I did hear this.
So yes, my next General Motors truck will be named Cheyenne. I have already spec'd out some badges to swap out the Silverado nameplates on the side. With.
And now you have one.
Now I've got an even better looking
Absolutely.
one that
That's
Yes.
fantastic.
will trump everybody else out there on the road.
Fantastic.
And it still has the adhesive tape on the back. This is like
Nice.
from 1977. So.
Nice, love it.
That is
Love
too
it.
cool. Too cool. Okay. So I'm gonna modify this question just a little bit
dear.
because we have Bill, who has worked for GM for a long time. So I'm gonna add to this one just a bit.
I know which one you're going with.
Would you have a Wrangler, a Bronco, or the new Hummer E EV?
This may shock you. The Bronco.
Yes. Yes.
I think what I've seen,
Right.
obviously no one's driven them. I think what Ford has done with that vehicle and how they've positioned it and
Right.
how it's going to be equipped is outstanding.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think that it's going to give Wrangler a run for the money. Wrangler's been riding high for too long.
Yes.
I'm really not happy with my colleagues at GM for not doing something with that Blazer other than
kidding.
naming. I am so offended. Okay, this is the first time I've come out publicly. So offended they put the Blazer name on a crossover.
Thank
Yes.
you.
I mean, in fact, I don't know if you can see.
Yes, I've been eyeballing that since I admitted you to this meeting, sir. So,
I obviously have the love for that, and I tell you, my dad is probably rolling in his grave thinking that they put the Blazer name on a station wagon.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
So,
No
Yeah.
kidding.
and I think that Hummer EV, I think it is going to be very promising. Guys, I just can't justify spending $112,000 on a vehicle. I don't care
Agreed.
how.
I about
high-tech.
fell over when I saw not only the price, but the timetable for which they were rolling those
Oh,
out.
yeah.
I'm like, why are we even talking about this right now?
It's 4 years out
Yeah.
before the last one comes out. Yeah.
The
And that-
affordable one, quote
The
unquote.
affordable
Yeah,
one, with the
right.
$80,000 one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which I can see, I can rationalize in my brain $84K for an all electric full size crew cab truck. I can't rationalize 112K. I just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it does not compute. So,
It's insane.
Yeah, that one was a tough one for me. So, yeah, I completely agree. Well, I don't know if agree is the right word. I see where you're coming from.
You can say it.
No,
You can
no,
say it.
no.
That the Bronco is
team
better.
Team Wrangler. But I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Picking the Bronco, Ford, the entire media machine behind it as well. They have done an outstanding promotional launch
Yeah.
of this vehicle in midst of
Yeah.
a very tough promotional schedule. The fact that Doug DeMuro even had a non-working picture mule, basically is what it was, to review, and that people were begging him for a video on, is just proof and testament to what Ford has with that and what General Motors could have
Yeah.
if they position themselves
Totally
correctly.
missed it.
Yeah.
Totally missed it. And maybe GMC will come out with a Jimmy just to redeem themselves, but
I'd love to see it. I really would.
Yep.
And I'm sure it would get, maybe not as much, but it would definitely get a lot of traction online.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So, next one.
Okay.
Thinking, dream vehicle here. Would you rather buy it or build it?
These are great questions because they aren't just yes or no. They aren't just A or B.
Make
So
you
you
think
guys
a
are
little.
you guys are devilish, right? By default, I'd say build it because, and ironically, I've been thinking about this, and I'm going to be writing an article on kit cars soon. But
Yes.
I've always wanted to build a car, new components, ground up.
Right.
I just don't have the space for it. I've got a garage, but in Michigan in the winter, I am not going to displace my wife's car with a project car in there. She will kill me.
That's a hard sell. That's a really hard sell.
And she is super understanding, but no, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to. And any fun car I bought has always needed something,
Right.
but it's never needed everything. So I would love to, do one of these. And so look for the article on kit cars in about the next week or so, because I'm going to explore some that are affordable and might be doable.
Nice.
We'll definitely be checking that out.
Yeah. Very cool.
Your turn, sir.
All right. Do you prefer sweet tea or unsweet tea?
Random question.
Yeah, that is. So I lived in Atlanta and Florida and Tennessee, so I'm very familiar with sweet tea. Love sweet tea, but it does not love me. I got to watch my sugar. So, but if you're going to drink tea that's sweetened, sweet tea is the way to go.
Okay. All right.
So you've dabbled in this question, but maybe not answered it outright thus far in our conversation. So are you team more technology in vehicles or less tech in vehicles?
What do you consider tech? Are we just talking about entertainment?
It could be anything from infotainment to
driver assist is the big one that I hang up on.
Right.
I'm a bit old school, so I would normally say less tech, but I bought this Mini Cooper with a stick last summer, a year ago summer, and it has a thing called rev matching.
Mm-hmm.
It has hill assist, so if you're at a stoplight on a little bit of a hill, the brakes will hold it. And I was like, take that stuff off. I don't want that. They're like, no, it's on the car. You're going to love it. No, I'm not. Nobody needs it. Well, guess what? I love it. So I don't want to pay for it. Like when I ordered my Mini, it was $500 for the backup camera. I said, forget it.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not buying technology. If it's in the car, I'll love it. I'm not paying for it.
Right.
So how did I answer that then? I guess technology.
That's
okay.
Yeah.
So I kind of dance the line. I know I answer this question a lot, but I'll answer it for your sake. I'm a big tech fiend. I've got the latest iPhone. I've got all Apple stuff, Apple all the way. And I love when technology is done right in vehicles. But I believe Matt's big hang-up is one that I also agree with, is if people are relying solely or primarily on all those driver assistance technologies, so that they can text or whatever when they're driving. I am totally anti that.
Yeah.
So that's essentially where we stand.
Yeah.
As Garage Talk on the matter.
Yeah, and even the backup cameras, I think, are, you get lazy. You stop looking over your shoulder. You stop using mirrors. I think when you have that, because I've had enough cars with those, and so that was the other reason. That's how I justified not spending the $500 was to.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna use my mirrors.
I will
that's why they're
say,
there.
That's right.
I will say, trying to back up a C8 Corvette, I was very thankful for it, though. There are some vehicles that just flat out need it because that tiny little porthole behind you is not good enough for.
Isn't there a backup camera for that, or a?
So there's a full
there's
360 camera on it. There's a rear view camera mirror if you option it as such, which the one I did did have that option on it, and I fully endorse all that technology on that vehicle.
All the cameras.
Yes, all the cameras on that vehicle because I was very nervous. Essentially the first time I got to move it was in reverse at a crowded event in a parking lot. And I was like, I don't want to run anyone over. So that was yes.
I've not had a chance to drive that car yet, so I'm kind of curious. I know you guys did a video. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. I'm already looking. I've got the itch to do it again. So
okay.
If anyone out there wants to loan us another one for any extended period of time, or if you've got friends in the PR department that could help out a struggling a startup podcast,
right?
We are absolutely on board.
I'm on it.
I love it. Favorite car movie?
Oh, easy. Smokey and the Bandit.
Yes.
I kind of figured, given your love for the Z28 and the colors in which you picked it.
Yeah.
So I was already drawing those parallels.
Any Burt Reynolds movie in the 70s was a car movie, but between that and Hooper, I don't know if you ever saw Hooper. It was a stuntman movie. It came in right after Smokey and the Bandit.
I have to check that one out.
And that was one that when you left the movie theater, you immediately hopped in your car and you did stupid things.
Yeah. The last Fast and Furious film I watched by myself, and it was very much that way. I had to pay a whole lot of attention going home.
Any of them that I watch basically do that to me. Yes, or Gone in 60 Seconds, or the list goes on.
We're all bad that way.
Yes. And my wife has attested to it's not just Matt and I and you, Bill. It transcends. She jokingly, I believe, refers to herself as a gearhead. The fact that she identifies with that behavior, it's dangerous.
Well, that's terrific.
Drive responsibly, leaving car movies.
That's right.
So, all right, I do believe that is 6. So we've got one more each.
Yep.
And there's so many good ones to choose from. He's kind of already answered that, but I may modify it a little bit. Yep, that's where I'm going to go. So, I know which car you would want back, and that is the Camaro. Favorite car? This could be old, it could be new, it could be a single vehicle, but favorite car, Camaro Z28 of your past excluded.
Oh, excluded. You can't have that one in the mix?
We've already had that conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Just trying to gauge outside of the one that got away.
Yeah, I think and probably this is true of everybody. You're going to pick one that probably brings back the most positive memories from your youth. And I would have to say it's going to be that second generation K5 Blazer because I had so much exposure to those and, mid 70s, 75 to 79, let's say. So when they went to the half roof, to 79, that's, I keep looking for one of those. But being up in Michigan, you have to go about 1,000 miles away to find one that isn't just totally gutted.
Yeah.
And
a lot of the ones I've seen around here are all project vehicles. So to get one, even if you want to make it a project vehicle to make it the way you want it, there's a lot of undoing that needs to be done. So
exactly.
All right, so with I'll end us off with this one. With the Z28 in your past and the K5 Blazer being so influential, do you prefer driving on road or off road?
On road. I love a good handling vehicle. I
Okay.
really like something that's crisp. I love taking a freeway on ramp, a clover leaf, and just really taking it hard around the curve.
Mhm.
I love a car that can handle. So
Awesome.
I'm I do enjoy a little off road. Always get in trouble when I do it, but I do love a car that can just take a curve.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you joke about getting in a little trouble off road. We keep alluding to it, but we seriously need to get Andy to commit to coming on our show because he has got a story that encompasses all three of us. Matt and I were riding with him at the time that I will say for him to fully divulge the details of. But suffice it to say, we went out in a 4-wheel drive truck and came back in a 2-wheel drive.
Ooh.
Yeah. Not good.
It happens. It happens.
So, yeah. We got into a lot of trouble
Yeah, we
during
did.
those years. So I empathize with you. I totally agree and totally get it. So
I have a feeling those stories are going to have to be done off camera because I don't know about you. I think statute of limitations might be expired for me, but
I think we're good.
I don't
I-
know.
How many years do we have to have here? We'll figure
seven,
that.
let's say 7, right?
At least 7.
I think
yeah,
we're
we'll
good.
probably be safe then.
I
Yeah.
think we're good. Yeah. So,
Okay.
Might be right at it, but we'll be. I think we'll be in good shape.
Andy, we're
Change the
calling you
names and
out.
location. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
All right, before we completely let you go, for our Patreon subscribers who give us a little bit of monetary
Yeah.
incentive to keep going and building our brand, we have 2 bonus questions. They are the same bonus questions each time around, but
Oh,
anytime
wow.
we do an interview, if you are willing, we will give you a bonus round of 1 question apiece.
Go for it. Let's do it.
All right. So my question, I do believe I already know the answer because, well, I don't know the price tag, so we'll see. If you were given right now, this very moment, $60,000 for a vehicle, what you buying?
Wow. I don't, that's not a price range I play in. I just don't, I will tell you though,
You don't.
I've been looking,
You don't even have
yeah.
to spend it all on the vehicle. So, yeah,
Wow.
there's that.
Well, I'm going to go find that Blazer. I'm going to go find a restored Blazer then.
Yep.
There you go.
And I don't discredit that answer. I love that answer.
Okay.
So,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Or a Jag.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
curveball.
Yeah.
So, all
Hey.
right.
Yeah.
See, I'm like a kid in a candy store now. I don't have to buy General Motors vehicles.
There are no rules.
That's right. That's right. All right. So, if you could take a road
You're
trip,
bad.
if you could take a road trip anywhere in the nation, who are you going with? Where are you going? And what are you driving?
See, this is why it's behind the paywall. These are the good ones that we saved.
Yeah. My wife and I each have a Mini now, and Mini does a lot of events like this where they have some driving events which had to get canceled with COVID. So there's one that was Mini Takes the States, which is kind of a cross country thing, or there was the Tail of the Dragon or something like
yeah.
that. I think I'd like to do that. I'd like to take my Mini, which is the 2-door hardtop with the stick, and take it with my wife,
Right.
and we'll go hit one of those twisties down there. So you see the USA, but it has to be some twisty road.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
I'm on board.
Yeah.
Our
Well,
Mini
I
Cooper's
take
still
you
in the
guys.
family.
I take you guys, but there's no back seat in there, so
Well,
to speak of.
our Mini Cooper is still in the family. We sold it to our wonderful, understanding, beautiful niece,
Yeah.
Carly. I'm calling you out. You called me out for not mentioning you in the very first episode. So
Uh-oh.
I've called you out every opportunity since. So, yes, Carly, we might need to borrow the Skittle back from you.
The Skittle.
I think the Tail of the Dragon is Tennessee. So
Is it?
that's
Okay.
kind of halfway between you and us. Maybe
Yeah.
we could plan a road trip and go run the Tail of
And
the
I'm not
Dragon.
even sure if I'm calling. Is that what it's called? Because I just knew it was something with the dragon.
Yeah, it's like 170 turns and 11 miles or something like that. It's nuts.
Ooh, Maybe I won't take my wife. I don't think she'll handle that. Hey, you guys want to come?
Paper, rock, scissors for who gets that bonus seat.
Great question, guys. I love it's not yes or no. It's not A or B. I mean, it takes some qualification. Good for you.
We're truly testing out those gearhead chops.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, Bill, it has been an absolute blast talking to you this evening. We could talk for many, many, many more hours, I'm sure. We will absolutely have to schedule a follow-up episode in the future and just dive a little bit deeper into how Vehicle Nanny is going, how all your projects are going. We'll have to get an update on that Fiero that you've already got me very interested in. But before we completely sign off, why don't you just remind our listeners one more time how they can find you and where they can find you, essentially.
Awesome. Yeah, I try to keep it somewhat simple, but the main place is vehiclenanny.com. It's pretty simple, and that's where I'm driving all my traffic to, because that's where all my content is.
Yep. Cool.
I have a Facebook page. It's Vehicle Nanny, which I think you've liked.
Yes.
And that's where I'll help promote some of those posts. And then Instagram, vehicle.nanny is my handle there. And again, it's just to expose some of the content from vehiclenanny.com on there. So, I also have Pinterest. I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
We have not jumped. I don't know the word. We have not jumped into anything outside of the big three, so to speak, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But so vehiclenanny.com is the go-to place, and I'm sure
just go there.
You've got links everywhere.
I got links. Yeah, it goes out, goes in. So
awesome.
Yeah, you go there. You don't need to go anywhere else.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And we will get that second interview in the books soon.
That'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll definitely have to let you know when the next car show is, so you can come down for that.
Yeah,
I got to plan a little bit. You got to give me at least 2 days notice.
Okay, all right.
I think we got you covered on that one. So,
but and don't wait till the next broadcast to stay in touch, because there's lots we can share back and forth, and
absolutely.
I have a feeling that we've got some tall tales to share off camera.
Definitely,
I do believe so.
Definitely.
That's what this is all about. So thank you. You have a wonderful evening, and until we meet again.
Have a good evening.
Take care, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Well, it was a blast. I told you it would be at the top of the episode. It was a blast having Bill on. This is not the last you have heard of Bill Taylor on Garage Talk. I can tell you that right now. We just had so much fun talking with him from even before we hit record. You don't always get to hear what goes on pre and post interview. And for that, we actually have a benefit for you.
We do have some post-interview information.
Yes. So with every episode now, Matt and I record just a little bit more for those who invest in Garage Talk. So the podcast is always 100% free. But for those who are wanting to invest a little bit further in seeing the growth of Garage Talk and to see us, take things to the next level, we have a Patreon, and you go to patreon.com/GT Garage Talk, and you can sign up we have multiple different tiers and multiple different rewards, perks to becoming a Patreon. But at the $5 a month tier, we have bonus content from each week's episode, and
some of it's pretty hilarious.
Some of it's good. Some of it's like, what are we thinking?
Oh yeah.
But when we do an interview, we ask 2 bonus questions that go exclusively behind the paywall, and they're good questions. They're fun.
They are good ones.
A lot to go into. So if you want to support the channel and support what we're doing, and to see further growth from Garage Talk and further car reviews and different things of that nature, head on over to patreon.com/GT Garage Talk, or head on over to gtgaragetalk.com. You can click support, and that actually runs down all the different ways that you can give back to Garage Talk, and not all of them cost anything.
Simple.
Some are free.
Yeah, simply as sharing and liking us on Facebook, Instagram, even YouTube. We're growing our presence on YouTube a little bit.
We have big plans for 2021 on
big
YouTube.
plans.
So, like I said, gtgaragetalk.com is where you'll find all of our blog posts on what we're driving, what we've driven, car news, what's coming up, and gives you links to all of our socials as well as our YouTube channel.
And be sure to check out vehiclenanny.com for more of Bill's blog information and some videos he was talking about upcoming too. Should be a lot of fun.
Very excited about those. But until next time, bye.